and welcome back to By Myself But Not Alone. This is episode 20, Sacramento, California. So at the end of the last episode, we got up early, checked out, had everything packed in the car. It looked like we might actually get an early jump for once. Michelle had been working awful hard to get me to quit poking around, and it seemed like it was starting to work. That is until I remembered I hadn't found any postcards from Portland. I was doing really good at this point on the tour. My postcard recipient said all received a postcard from every city that Metallica had played along the way, and I wasn't going to blow that. We actually lucked out and I found some at the very first gas station I looked in. And that doesn't happen very often, but it made Michelle really happy and it made me really happy. So I hopped in the car, filled out my cards, stamped them, found a place to drop them off, and it seemed like we were Sacramento bound. But while I was doing all that, Michelle was messing around on her phone and she said, you know, there's a Goodwill right down the road. So I said, damn, it's a shame we've got such a long trip ahead of us. Although we're up pretty early, we could hit one in every city if we did this right. I had to laugh. She was dead serious. She said, I think we'll be fine if we just run in and run out. Okay, let's do it. So we pulled in, headed on in. I did my little quick route and I was done in about 10 minutes. Michelle, on the other hand, it took her a little longer. When we got out to the car, I couldn't help myself. I said, this is good. I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one that likes to poke around from time to time. I just hope you remember this when we're pulling into our hotel at 10 p.m. in Sacramento. She told me to shut up. I did. We got in the car and we hit the road. Once we got rolling, we made really good time. It was about an 8-hour trip, but it was the quickest 8-hour trip I'd ever taken. It was a nice smooth drive straight down Interstate 5. We had a little comedy at the first rest area we stopped at. We had walked back. There was like a creek running behind it, and we were just looking at the water, and this guy came up and he started talking to us. So we started talking back. He started telling us about the hundreds of thousands of dollars he had made in his life panning for gold. That was kind of interesting. It seemed a bit far-fetched based on some of what he was saying, but what the hell, we were enjoying the conversation. Then he started telling us he was an over-the-road truck driver, and then he slowly started interjecting things that were just a little bit over the top. It was pretty apparent that this guy had been on the road a little too long and he was missing his wife. Michelle was just kind of standing there with that this guy's a real creep look on her face. I just kept on talking and so did he, and Michelle just kept staring at me like, let's get the hell out of here. But I was kind of enjoying the weirdness of an awkward situation. He eventually ended up saying something that was way over the top. He apologized instantly. It just seemed weird the way he interjected that, and then he apologized instantly. He said, I'm sorry, buddy. I shouldn't be talking like that in front of another guy's woman. I'm not hitting on your girl. In the spur of the moment, I couldn't help it. I said, let's have a little fun with this. I looked at Michelle, then I looked at the guy, and I said, no, she's not my girl. We're just friends. You can hit away. I just looked at Michelle and smiled as she gave me a death stare, which turned into a kind of a pretty fake smile when the guy ended up looking at her, and then when he looked back at me, she just looked at me like she wanted to kill me. So I kept talking and the guy kept talking, and it wasn't much longer after that when I started to realize that Michelle wasn't necessarily the object of his interjections, and we agreed later that he was indeed hitting on me at this point, not her. So as you can probably imagine, as she stood there, her death stare that turned into a very fake, insincere smile became a legitimate, sincere smile. She was eating it up. So I finally just said, hey man, it was great to meet you, but we got to get down the road. We've got a pre-party to get to. We're going to see a concert tomorrow night, and we've got a party tonight. So we headed back to the car. We got on the road. It was no big deal. Live and let live. People are people and all that good stuff. It just really caught us off guard. And you can probably imagine we had quite a bit of fun with that for the rest of the trip, and then later on in the hotel that night. A good way down the road, we learned another thing on that trip. We pulled off of the highway to get gas. We weren't even sure if we were going to find gas. We just saw that there was a town, but we didn't see gas station signs or anything. But we followed the roads around, and we finally came up to an old-style gas station. We agreed that it looked like the type of gas station that we had both seen in the late 70s, early 80s. And as soon as we pulled in, there was a guy in a service uniform right there at the window. So I rolled the window down and I said, man, you guys certainly are friendly here in Oregon. We had some young guys in Portland pump our gas last night. So he explained to us that in most places in the state of Oregon, you're not allowed to pump your own gas. There was some exception to that, but for the most part, somebody else had to do it. I thought that was pretty interesting. I'd never heard that. It turns out it's one of 2 states where that's the way it is. I think New Jersey's the other one. We looked into it when we got back on the road. That kind of made me curious, so I asked why. There were a whole list of safety issues, but for the most part, it was for economic reasons. It created quite a few jobs. He, in fact, had relocated himself from Northern California. He couldn't get a job there. He ended up moving up to Oregon for the job. He had been there ever since. It was treating him well. So I thought it was pretty cool. He was a really cool guy. I asked him if he thought we might get into any problems with alternate routes or anything because of all the fires that had been going on out there. He said for the most part, to his knowledge, there shouldn't be any problem. Most of the fires had been contained at that point about a week earlier. So he said, no, you're not going to have any problem if you're heading to Sacramento. So we thanked him. We were on our way. We decided to drive around, take a look at the town. The whole town was like the gas station. It had a real 70s, early 80s small town nostalgic vibe to it. So we just took a few minutes to enjoy that, but pretty soon we were back on the road. Now at this point throughout the trip, we had seen quite a bit of smoke. There seemed to be a haze in the air, clouds of smoke that were varying in density. And every now and then we'd see areas where you could see that the fire had gone through. But we hadn't seen anything too awful bad. But we ended up coming to a point in the road where on both sides of the highway, as far as you can see, everything was just, it was the smoldering remains of what had gone through in the previous weeks. For lack of a better way to put it, it was awakening. It really made me stop and think, whoa. It's one thing to see those fires blazing on TV. I mean, it looks bad and everything, but I don't think you can really get the feeling until you go through an area like that after the fact and just see the devastation. And it really didn't last that long, but it really opened my eyes. It was most definitely a reality check, and it was another thing to add to my long list of things to think of when things aren't quite going my way. You know, the old strategy of thinking that there's always someone who has it worse than you. Well, in that moment, I really felt for the victims of the forest fires, and they had it far worse than any situation I could imagine finding myself in. So we finally made it to Sacramento. We found our hotel and we got checked in. Our hotel seemed to be decent enough. We had seen worse, but we weren't necessarily in the hood, but we weren't in the Hilton either. I'd say we were a little closer to being in the hood. There were some strange cats just kind of wandering around in the parking lot, even though there was a fence all the way around the property and security cameras everywhere. I kind of wondered a little bit, but once we got inside, everything was all right. When we got in, we considered our room to be a blast from the past. The decor was early 70s, maybe even late 60s. It was the smallest hotel room either one of us had ever seen. It was might have been 12 by 10, but we did have a luxurious dining room attached. It was a little 4 by 4 area with a small table and 2 chairs. It was pretty cozy. It was cozy, but it was cold. I started looking around for the heater, and it hit me, we're in California. There is no heater. There was an air conditioning unit on the wall. And after we had dined on our fine McChicken sandwiches, I got up and I took a real good look at the air conditioner, and I had a brainstorm. The AC was a really old unit, and it had temperatures marked, and the highest setting was marked at 70 degrees, and you flipped it down 65. 60, 55. I plugged it in and I figured out that it wasn't controlled by a thermostat because it was, if I put it on 70, it obviously wouldn't kick on because the temperature was well beneath 70. It was probably 50 in the room. But when I turned it on 70, it started shooting out air. So I said, do you think if we turn the air conditioner on 70, it'll actually warm us up? I thought it was a pretty crazy notion to use the air conditioner to warm ourselves up rather than cool us off. And Michelle, she thought I was nuts. Common sense is all I could think to say, and she said, well, turn it on and let's see if you're right. She rolled her eyes. I was pretty certain she didn't think it was going to work. About a half hour later or so, I said, well, is it just me or does it feel pretty warm in here? She just said it makes more sense that the room is so small that the heat radiating off of our bodies is what warmed the room. But I think the only thing really radiating that moment was pure sarcasm as she looked at me and said, good night, Einstein. We got up the next morning. We found a McDonald's for our essential double dose of caffeine, and we headed on down to the Golden One Center. That was the new home of the Sacramento Kings. Now, we had seen some arenas by this point, but the only thing I could say when I laid eyes on that place was, wow. I just couldn't believe how massive it looked, how sturdy it looked. I was so impressed that when we found our line, I had to jump on Google and look it up and find out a little more about this place. I found several articles that referred to it as the most technologically advanced and sustainable arena in the world. It was more like a complex than just an arena. There was a pedestrian walkway, but across from that, there was a whole strip mall full of shops. It was so impressive to see, and like I said, the minute I laid eyes on it, all I could say was, whoa. And I definitely wasn't the only one feeling this way. I heard quite a few people talking about how awesome this place was. So we were up there pretty early. There was quite a large group of people there already. Quite a few more people than had been there in Portland. We were there about the same time. Michelle jumped in line, I got busy, and right off the bat I met black ticket holders Tavo and Juan. It was the first time I had met them. I got their black ticket intro, I gave them their patches, I interviewed them. I interviewed my friend Brandon Murray, then Gert and Jelle from Belgium. They showed up. The place was pretty hopping right off the bat. It was kind of chilly, so at some point we all walked down and there was a Starbucks attached to the lower part of the building. I think it was attached to the building. We went down there to get coffee. My drink is straight black coffee. It takes no time, but everyone else ordered some crazy stuff that they actually had to take the time to mix together. So I said, I'm going to go out and have a smoke. As I was standing there, I saw a guy coming across the street. He was coming straight for me, and I really got the feeling, who is that? I should know this guy, and he's heading right for me. He came right up and said, Mike. And I said, yeah, I'm Mike, but you're not looking too familiar. He said, well, I shouldn't look too familiar, but you'll know me as soon as I tell you my name. I'm Mike Bobich. I said, oh, man. Even before he said his name, knowing where I was, I should have known who it was. But as soon as he did say it, it felt really good to meet a guy I'd been talking to in the Met Club forums for quite some time, a couple years. It was the first time we had ever met. So we talked a bit. I told him I was waiting on a group of people. He asked me about the previous couple shows. I reached in my pocket and pulled out some pics. I originally thought Portland was his home show, but it was Spokane. So Michelle had a couple extra Spokane pics she gave me in case anybody needed them. So I went ahead and gave him a Spokane pick. That's what he considers to be his hometown show. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to this one, so I hooked him up with a pick. That made him really happy, and when they got out, she was delighted that I put it to good use. We all walked back up to the line together, and there we met Steve, or as many of you may know him from the forums, It's Just Steve. I also got to meet Shawnee from the forums, just briefly. She was headed off to meet her people for her meet and greet. Robert from LA and Brian from San Francisco were both up there. Somebody told me they were both looking for me, and when they found me, they wanted to show me that they had already put their black ticket patches on their jacket. It was really cool to see them out in the field so quickly. I'd just given them to them a couple days earlier. I interviewed Mike and Steve together. That was a lot of fun. And we basically all just hung out for a little while, and next thing you know, they were letting us in to line up inside. When we got inside, I met Randy from Texas. I got his black ticket intro. I gave him his patch. There were others. I gave away quite a few patches, and I got quite a few black ticket intros. It was a really productive day, and it was just a cool day of hanging out. And it was not a chore to stand in line that day at all. While we were standing in line there, I had finally made up my mind that I had so much fun on the rail, I was going to try to do it again if we could get to it. And the next thing you know, they're letting us down on the floor. When we got in, it seemed like there were a lot more people around the stage already than normal, and it seemed like they must have sold quite a few more experience packages. Whatever the reason was for all those extra people being in there, we did not make it to the rail, but we got essentially what we would call second row. I turned around and saw my friend Alex. You may know him as Odin Lives on the Met Club forums. And this time I got to meet his son. It was kind of funny. All along I thought his name Odin Lives was derived from his passion for comic books or something, and that may be the case. But he actually has that name because he named his son Odin. I'd never met a kid with that name. It's a cool name, and I got to meet Odin and Odin Lives. It was pretty cool. I kind of feel like I'm throwing out more random names than I normally do, and I probably am, because Sacramento was one of those places that it happened at several places on the tour, but there was a moment there shortly after we got in there in Sacramento where I was just increasingly aware of how many people I know in this crowd. We were right behind Gert and Jelle from Belgium. Right next to them we had the Swedes, Oscar, Simon, Eric. I think Miss Paula was a little further around by Claire from Australia. To the right we had 5 or 6 of the guys from LA, from California to Self-Destruct. Right next to them we had Frank from Mexico, Guillermo from Miami. Behind us to the left we had Romina from Germany. She was with Leandro from Brazil. The Vikings from Norway, Glenn and Ola, had just gone by. They were headed to the soundboard, and if we'd go over there, there'd be another 30 or 40 people we know. I could literally walk around the rail and just see person after person, friends I've made. And at that show, in that moment, it just really hit home. It's hard to explain how good that felt. And for obvious reasons, as the tour progressed, we were meeting more and more people. I just remember standing there for a few minutes in Sacramento, just eating that up. I found myself in awe. Jim came on, did his thing, he got everybody fired up, and the next thing you know, the Angels were singing, The Ecstasy of Gold was playing. It was go time in the Golden One Center. Record-breaking crowd of over 17,200 people went nuts for a couple hours. We had a great set list, good rotation. Battery was back in the #1 encore slot. Whiplash was back in. Bobich did not get his Eye of the Beholder, but It's Just Steve did get his Creeping Death. For me, the song of the night was one of my old favorites, Shortest Straw. They absolutely killed it. It was an all-around great night. I did get my 2 picks and a couple extra. As I mentioned, the weather was a little warmer, so we hung out outside for a little while longer than we had in Portland and Spokane. We finally said goodnight and headed back to the hotel, but not before meeting 2 incredibly drunk guys at the parking garage. They stopped us and asked if we had a smoke. We gave them one, so we decided to have a smoke with them. They saw our black tickets and they thought we were part of the road crew, and we explained to them what it was, and next thing you know, 20 minutes later, they're still asking questions. So a big shout out to the entertaining random drunk guys. We had a good time talking to you. The next morning we woke up and said farewell to our miniature hotel room. We packed up the car and headed down the road to Fresno to the last show on the third leg of the tour. And before I go, I want to open this package. When I got home after the third leg, a couple days later, this arrived. It's from my friend Mike Bobich. When we were hanging out before the show, he had a bag that had some Enter Night beer, and he offered, more than once, he offered me an Enter Night. And I thought it was too early in the day. I told him, thanks, I'll just wait for my Jack Daniels inside. But I did tell him I would like to get one of those cans, though. I was almost tempted to run back to the garage. He said, don't worry about that. I'll send you a couple cans. I said, well, you can't do that. It's against the law. And he said, oh, no, I've got my ways. So he sent me this package. I know what's in here already, but I haven't opened it. And I told him I'm going to wait till the Sacramento episode to open it. So here we go. I could have had this ready. It's not necessarily an unboxing. Whoa, he sent the whole 6-pack. Right on. And the way he was able to send them, he punched a hole in the bottom. I'm sure he drank it. He did a good job with that. But they haven't been popped from the top, and I've got the whole 6-pack. It was cool as hell that you took the time to do that, Mike. Now, at that time, the Enter Night beer was not readily available in a lot of places in the United States, and a lot of people were waiting to get their hands on it. A lot of people wanted to try it, but just to have the can itself. So I think it's super cool that Mike was saving every can that he was drinking, and he was sending them all around the country. That, my friends, is awesome, and Mike is just one of those guys. He's always looking out for the next guy, and I appreciate it greatly. Now, I can get Enter Night beer all over the place around here now, but these cans mean much more to me than any that I can find on my own. These cans are a lot more than just empty beer cans. These cans are gifts to me sent from a friend who I finally got to meet, a friend that lives clear across the country. These cans are gifts from the road. These cans are among the many gifts given to me by my black ticket. I want to say thanks to the crowd in Sacramento, and let me tell you, that is some arena you've got there. And boy, what a show did you put on. Thank you. Mike, thanks one more time for the beer cans, but more importantly, thanks for the thought that went into it and for taking the time to get them to me. That means more to me than I can say, and I certainly hope to see you down the road real soon. To everyone else, I'd like to say, as always, thank you for watching. If you like what we have going on here, we'd appreciate it greatly if you consider subscribing to the channel. Give us a like, a dislike, whatever the case may be. Leave us a comment. If you find yourself in one of the videos, please share it to social media and help us grow the project. Next stop, Fresno, California. We'll see you there. Until then, rock on. Who are you and where are you from?
Brandon Murray, and I'm from Draper, Utah.
How long have you been a Metallica fan?
Whew. At least 20 years.
I am Juan from Tijuana, Mexico, and I've been a fan of Metallica since I was 14.
Since you were 14? How old are you now?
I am 32.
Okay, old school.
Yeah, hi, name is Octavio. I'm original from Mexico, live here on USA. Been fan since I think I was 12 years old. Thanks to my older brother who was let me borrow his music, and then I'm started getting to Metallica and that way. Now I've been following them around, and then it's been pretty cool.
My name is Carrie, and I am from Gardnerville, Nevada.
Alrighty, how long have you been a Metallica fan?
Probably since I was 10.
And how old are you now? You're not supposed to ask a lady?
I'm 30.
Okay,
Just turned 30 on Monday, actually.
Happy birthday. So
Thank you.
two-thirds of your life you've been a Metallica
Yes.
fan. That's awesome.
Yes.
Mike Bobich, originally from Spokane, Washington.
Steve Plow from Sacramento, California.
Okay, you guys in Met Club? What are your Met Club handles?
Bobich.
It's just Steve.
Right on. Great to meet you both.
Yeah.
How long have you been Metallica fans?
Oh my
Since '83. The whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you. 88 for me.
Have you seen them before live?
I have. First time was 2008 in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And saw them again the following year, 2009, in Dallas, Texas. And didn't see them again all the way until the WorldWired Tour in Baltimore when they opened up.
And now you're a black ticket holder.
Yep. This will be show number 12 for me.
So you've seen him a few times live before?
Yeah.
Do you have a number? Do you count?
This is gonna be 18 show for now.
All right. Do you have a number?
This will be my show number 22.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yes, this will be my 4th show.
Oh, excellent. All right, cool. Have you seen them live before?
Yeah,
Of course.
Do you have a number? Do you count like a lot of these guys do?
this is number 16.
All right.
15 or 16.
All righty. You got your Met Club shirt on. Oh,
Yeah,
4, yeah.
representing.
yeah, Day on the Green.
Do you have a favorite song? Can you narrow down to a favorite song?
And Justice for All.
Didn't have to think too long.
Nope.
So that's
First song I learned how to play on the drums.
okay.
And Justice for All.
Favorite song? One. That's my favorite.
Well, favorite song, I will say Master of Puppets. Even I get into their music with the Black album, I think the Master of Puppets album is a masterpiece, and then Master of Puppets song, I got something in common with that song, and then got me really strong.
I would have to say my favorite song has always been One.
Oh, for me, they vary from album to album. Favorite song, Eye of the Beholder, I have to say, holds a special part in my heart.
Okay.
Creeping Death.
Oh,
Creeping Death. Ride the Lightning. Yeah,
there you go. Favorite album?
And Justice for All.
I thought you might say that.
Favorite album? It has to be Justice for All.
All right.
It's very complete. I don't know. They renewed their sales in their record. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very complex.
Yeah, probably, maybe the most complex. Yeah,
Yeah, well, easily I will say Ride the Lightning. It's my favorite album. I think I got my patch killing all.
Oh, yeah.
I actually got Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ride the Lightning is
still your favorite?
favorite. Yeah, definitely yes.
Oh, that's a harder one. I probably have to go with And Justice for All.
Don't
Maybe
apologize.
Ride the Lightning.
Oh, that's
They have so many good ones.
yeah. They're kind of like a trick question.
Yeah, it is.
Ride the Lightning. Yeah,
Don't even have to think about it.
yeah.
All right.
Justice.
How about favorite band member, past or present?
Probably Lars.
Ours is cool. They're all cool, but he's so interpersonal. Did I say that word right?
You did.
We'll edit it out if I didn't.
Fair enough.
It has to be James Hetfield.
All right.
So much respect for all of them, but Lars, it's
Okay.
one of
Kirk.
You
Sure.
didn't think long about that.
Nope.
Do you love him?
I do.
All righty. Have you ever got the opportunity to meet him?
I have very, very briefly once. Unfortunately, I was not able to get a picture with him, but yes.
So you just met Kirk. You didn't meet. Have you
No.
met any of the other guys?
Nope, just Kirk.
And that's all that really mattered.
Right?
James.
James,
James.
James is the man.
he is the
I'm
man.
ahead.
The man. Yep.
What do you think about Brewer? Before you saw the show, what did you think when you heard the announcement that he was going to be the opening act? And then after that, what do you think now that you've seen him?
So, when I heard that he was opening up, I had heard some of his stuff before, just a little bit, not much. But when it got closer to the tour, I started listening and actually became a fan. And each show, I just love his sense of humor. I think he's great. In fact, I'm actually purchasing tickets for my wife and I to go to the show in Salt Lake City on, I think, February 5th or 7th.
Have you gotten a chance to meet him?
Other than just saying hi, that's about it.
It's different for a concert, very different, but it's very. I was laughing at Las Vegas show, so it's okay.
So open-minded about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. That was first time I hear about it. You know, like Metallica concert, comedy show gonna open. I think it's pretty cool. I bring my girlfriend to Philadelphia, and then she loves him. She was like, that's a cool thing to open for Metallica. And I was like, well, I think it's a cool. They put a good stuff there, make us laugh before the craziness. But yeah, I think they are cool.
How about 3 bands other than Metallica that, in your life, your favorite 3 bands?
Favorite 3 bands, Volbeat, courtesy of Metallica, Pearl Jam, and U2.
Oh, that's a hard question. I'd have to say Volbeat. I definitely got turned on to them from Metallica. Guns N' Roses. And then, a third one. Oh, gosh. That is so hard. Maybe Poison? I don't know.
Hey, Poison is fair
I
game.
saw them not too long ago, and they were awesome.
My favorite 3 in line, well, my top one, Metallica. I got Iron Maiden. Been see them many times as well. And I would say Motorhead. Motorhead is one of the tops as well. So yeah, there is some of my favorite bands that I'm listening to.
Okay.
3 others?
3 of them.
Has to be Megadeth, Rammstein, and currently I'm listening a lot of Gojira.
Like those guys, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Sabbath. Gotta be.
I'll go with that, and I gotta throw in Ghost. I've been really falling in love with Ghost lately.
Do you have someone in your life, one person that you credit solely for turning you on to the Metallica in the first place, or how did you come about becoming a Metallica fan?
So I first heard the opening of Frayed Ends of Sanity in my living room, courtesy of my brother, and I was pretty young at the time, but I just remember hearing that and thinking the Wizard of Oz, and I didn't really become a fan until sometime in high school, like 93-ish. The Justice for All album, somehow, I don't know how it happened. I think I probably stole it from my brother, but the CD landed in my hands, and I've been a fan ever since.
Well, you told us your brother got you into them.
Yeah, my brother, he likes this music, and then he got all, Metallica, Rob Zombie, all the kind of music, and then I'm just kind of getting his albums and start listening to them, and I'm just getting to Metallica so deep.
And thanks to your brother.
Any other band like more Metallica.
Okay, so who turned you on to Metallica?
A friend, he was a neighbor. I was listening at that time to the Offspring, but he gave me the Black Album, and I started to listen to it. And oh man,
Got hooked?
No, and then, yeah, I got hooked. And then I bought Master of Puppets, and oh man.
Never looked back, huh?
Yes, my sister, she gave me my first Metallica CD, so
Older sister?
yes.
Cool older sister. Is she here with you today?
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's getting ready to move to Italy.
Maybe she can catch him over there.
Maybe.
I had some punk rocker friends in high school turn me on to them. They played Kill 'Em All because it was fast.
Was that out this way on the coast?
Oh yeah, it's here, Auburn, California.
Yeah, you guys had a jump on guys like me in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You beat us by a couple years.
right.
I saw them for the first time at Monsters of Rock in 1988 in Spokane. we started a petition to get the show there. We had over 25,000 signatures, and little small town market. We got that show, and that's what turned me on to Metallica.
Oh, mad props. So you were at, that was the show that they kept referring to the other night. The last time they've been there, or have they been there?
Oh, no. They played Spokane 1, 2, 3 times post.
Okay, yeah, Lars spoke of a concert long ago, though.
Okay.
That's probably what he was talking about.
Yeah.
We come from all walks of life as Metallica fans. What do you do for a living?
I'm a software developer.
You work for a company? Freelance?
Work for myself, just doing consulting type stuff. So, been doing that for just over 4 years now.
I am an American Sign Language interpreter for deaf and hard of hearing kids.
Wow, can you give us a shout out? Some Metallica,
like
Metallica rules? Metallica rocks? Excellent. There's a black ticket lady who does the same thing.
Oh, really?
And if I see her, I'll introduce you.
That's cool. That's awesome.
That's very cool.
Right on.
I'm a highway worker. I stripe the road.
Here in California?
Yep.
I'm previously retired. Used to drive a truck, but I'm disabled, retired.
If Metallica themselves should happen to see this, do you have a message for them?
Thank you.
Well, I haven't had the chance to meet them, being entered into contests, but if they see this, I was just gonna tell them thanks for all the fucking music, thanks for all this, thanks for what they do for the fans, and special right now what they do with all the foundation that they're doing, all within my hands, helping people around. It's just not their music, but they are giving to everybody, back. And I think I'm just gonna say thanks for that. Thank you.
Just 4 words. Thank you for existing. You're a legend.
Thank you guys so much for everything you have done. Your music has saved my life and really inspired me over the years. And you guys rock. Keep on rocking on.
Thanks for everything. Keep on keeping on. It's the best. Yeah, they're the best.
Like Steve says, thank you for everything. As long as you keep putting music out, I will keep enjoying it. Thanks again.
And what are you drinking there?
Metallica's Internight Pilsner.
God, he's a salesman.
off you, Sacramento.